Hello. A very subdued hello this morning from me. The morning after the FA Cup debacle the day before, and we are all, well, I am, licking my wounds massively this morning. Couldn't sleep much last night. Thought about it all the way to work this morning. It's just bitterly, bitterly disappointed. I've seen all the reactions online and everybody's gutted. I was trying to sort of come on and make some sense of it in my head and put some of my feelings across. I know they don't agree. A lot of people won't agree, maybe with them. Some might not. But I was obviously very, very bitterly disappointed with the performance. I think it was nowhere near where we have seen it this season. I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes in. We know the levels we can achieve and the levels we have played at this season. So to not be able to replicate them in what is the biggest game of the season so far was terrible. Really, really disappointing, and something that it's going to be tough to recover from for the fans, for myself, because I convinced myself, as I always do, that we can win the FA Cup, and we definitely could have won the FA Cup, but we just didn't put the performance in. So just having a chat about the game, team selection. I put out there what I thought would be a decent team. I'm not the manager. I don't see him day in, day out. And I'm sure Unai has his own reasoning, as he has done all the way through his tenure at Villa, why he picked who he picked. I think starting Pau was a mistake. And it's not very often you'll hear me say this about Unai. I think Tyrone Mings was universally sort of looked at by a lot of fans as the right man to come in as a pure defender to start. Just keeping everybody out at the back, good in the air. The matchup with Mateta looked a better one. I understand Pau's ability on the ball to come out with the ball and pass the ball. He's excellent, and he's been a very, very good signing for us. So it's certainly no slight on Pau, but we've seen now with this 22-man squad we've got that we have to pick the right players for the right games, and I think he got it wrong yesterday. I really don't like Morgan Rogers out on either wing. I don't mind Asensio starting. He's been incredible since he's come in, but I think over the last 3 or 4 games, we've seen a drop-off from him, particularly. I don't think he impacted the game enough yesterday. We had absolutely no cutting edge in the final third in the box. I think the Rashford injury that was sort of announced when the team and news dropped with him not in the squad, I think affected them a little bit because, we've lost that extra attacking option off the bench. And we saw that with 20 minutes to go, half an hour to go. He would have been absolutely brilliant to bring on when we were probably 1-0 down, still pushing for the game. I also have to question the McGinn substitution. I think the sort of when his number came up, you heard the murmurings, well, more than murmurings, a sort of echo around the Villa end yesterday about being a bit perplexed as to why McGinn came off, because I thought probably in the 3 behind Ollie Watkins, he was probably our best player, and we needed that sort of impact from him. I thought, to be fair, I said last night in my instant reaction, I don't think for one of the first times the substitutes had an impact. I think that was probably a little bit unfair on Jacob Ramsey and Leon Bailey, who I did think had an impact on the game. They just couldn't, like the rest of the team for the rest of the game, couldn't really impact us in the most important area, which was in their penalty area. I've got a few little graphics here which I want to, because it was a very, very odd game. Palace, if we just show you these graphics. So that is the momentum bar of the game. Crystal Palace are in the green, Villa are in the purple. And I think, if you look at these next few slides and didn't watch the game, you would definitely question how on earth did Crystal Palace win this game? Because in the first half, we had so much of the ball and our momentum was always going forward. If we just look at this one, I'll just take that off for a minute. So this is overall in the game. So we had 70% possession to their 30%, 16 shots. Their uh, 12 corners, which was just unbelievable. And our passes was 547. So that just shows that the sort of dominance, possession wise, chances wise, shots wise, and the amount of passes we had. If I show you this one as well, this is a really, really, really important one for me. We were dispossessed 12 times yesterday. And I think those 12 times were all in the centre of midfield. I've been a huge, huge admirer of Boubacar Kamara and Yuri Tielemans. They have been incredible for us, incredible players. And this is a reaction to one game, and I understand that. So overall, they've still been incredible, and they are still incredible footballers. But yesterday, I would have to say that was probably their worst performance for Villa individually and as a pairing. And we lost the ball so many times in key areas, and they managed to break on us. But again, you look at this stat, big chances, and this is where it fell down. My eyes were telling me that, yeah, we've got a lot of the ball here. We just need to do something with the ball. We need to do something with the ball. But we couldn't. We couldn't do anything with it. And this bears this out here. They had 9 shots, 3 massive chances, and they scored all 3. And that's discounting the penalty miss as well. We were brutally, brutally punished. And we've seen this time and time again this season with games where, I think their first shot on target was the Eze goal. About a few minutes before, you have the Morgan Rogers chance when the ball comes in from the right-hand side, from the left-hand side as I was looking at it, and it comes all the way across goal. Rogers is running onto it, and he puts it wide. Now, I would say that's no more difficult a chance than the Eze goal, but Eze gets it on target, and I think I've seen a few people criticise Emi, and yes, he hasn't been at his best at times this season, but I think when I saw it again, he hits it so sweetly with such pace, and he sort of whips it across the goalkeeper. And Emi's at full stretch and doesn't get anywhere near it. Now, I was saying that his positioning is wrong, so that maybe if his positioning was better, he could have maybe got a hand on it. But I think Eze takes it so early and he hits it so well with such pace and whip that I think it's past Martinez before he even gets a chance to sort of get anything on it. And then we're pressing and they get the penalty. And at that point, I genuinely, if you look at the momentum bar, so we started the second half pretty well. We're having a lot of the ball again. And then we give a penalty away, which was a penalty. I thought it was when it happened. And then they miss it. Did the pressure get to him? Was the fact he was facing Emi Martinez, who's got such a great record as a penalty stopper, get in his head? Whatever happened, he missed the penalty. And at that point, I genuinely thought, this is it now. This is the chance for us to use that as sort of power and use that as fuel to get back in this game. But it didn't happen, as you see here. Literally within 10 minutes, they're 2 up. And then we're chasing the game, and then they're just happy to sit back. And I think this was the story of the game. Very Crystal Palace-like, to be honest. Happy just to sit back, happy to soak up pressure, nick the ball when they can, and then cause us problems with the attacking power they had, which was Mateta and especially Eze, and our absolute nemesis this season, Ismail Assar, I think he's played 3 or 4 games, scored 6 goals, 2 assists. He's absolutely destroyed us this season. The third goal, late on, injury time, we're pushing and they nick it on the break, and it's just another good finish. But all 3 of their goals, excellent finishes. The second one, lovely goal. He's running at the back 4, and he just buries it in the bottom corner. Again, Martinez at full stretch doesn't get near it. So, very, very disappointing. Where does it leave us? I don't know. Where does it leave us? It leaves us licking our wounds. It leaves us, 2 weeks ago, we were quarterfinals of the Champions League, semi-finals of the FA Cup, and had a good chance of finishing the top 5. 2 of those now have disappeared, and we've still got the top 5 to go for. It's going to be tough. We're going to need other teams to help us out. I think Chelsea and potentially Forest, maybe Newcastle, the ones we could still catch, but it does mean that we need those to drop points, and they haven't done that in the last couple of weeks. we also have got to go and win our last 4 games, which, I'm glad we've got a week's break for everybody to sort of walk away from it for a little bit, maybe have a couple of days off, and refocus and then back at it. It looks like we've lost Rashford for the rest of the season, which is disappointing, but, we've got more than enough players to get us through these last 4 games. So, yes, I will touch on one other thing, and it's a difficult subject to talk about, but I feel like I need to say something. I thought the atmosphere was poor yesterday from Villa, and I understand the game didn't start with a real bang for us. We sort of was feeling our way into it, and we was happy just to slow it down, and it's not conducive to a good atmosphere. We'd be great to be at them from the first minute, get the fans up. I thought the Palace fans were excellent, but obviously everything went their way. Their ultras have had a bit of stick, and a lot of people sort of mock them. But I thought they created a brilliant atmosphere in the bottom behind the goal yesterday, and they were bouncing the whole game. Obviously, it helps that they went ahead, then 2-0. If had that been on the other side, I'm sure our end would have been absolutely bouncing. But it was just a very weird atmosphere yesterday. I got there about 3 o'clock, and we walked round to the Villa end, and there wasn't a lot of, I don't know. I just felt something was missing, and I'd be very interested in anybody that went yesterday. Do you agree? Do you think that was what was happening yesterday? Do you agree that this was a very odd atmosphere? And the game started very quiet, and there was trouble behind me again. There was. I won't say where I was, but I don't know. Fans kicking off, and I know a 5:15 kick-off, and a lot of people arrive early in London. And the drinks flowing, and everybody, quite a few people have had too many, but I don't understand this when you have to fall out with your own fan base. And I've spoken to 2 or 3 fans this morning that were in different areas of the ground, a couple of family members, a couple of very good friends, and they all experienced very similar things, pockets of trouble, people arguing with each other. And I know that's a lot of it to do with the drink, and, everybody's letting out off steam, but I genuinely think we've got to get a bit more respect back in at times. Everybody's there for the same reason, the love of the club. Everybody's there to watch the game. Some people are happy just to turn up, watch the game, go home. Some people want to get a few beers down and sing, shout, absolutely great, enjoy the game. But when you're impacting people around you, I think that's when you've got to have a look at yourself. And I think this lack of self-awareness from some people, and it's not everybody, and it's probably only a minority, but unfortunately, it always, when it springs up somewhere, it spreads to quite a few people. You have a lot of people turn around looking what's going on. So I think we just need a bit more respect back at times. It's not me saying I'm a better fan. I'm not a better fan, but I've got a reasonable platform, and I think it's fair. People I've spoken to this morning have been disappointed. I've heard people say the words, I don't know if I can do many more away games, or I think I need to sit somewhere else next time. And it's a shame, because a lot of people go there with their families, and everybody deserves to enjoy the game however they want to enjoy it, and that's great. Do what you want, drink, smoke, sing, dance, sit down. If you don't want to sing, great, enjoy the game. Everybody deserves. You've paid your money, you deserve to enjoy the game however you see fit. But just be a little bit more respectful of people around you. That's all I'm asking for. And I don't think that's a horrible thing to say. I'm not calling anybody out in particular, but there was definitely pockets. And it doesn't help. I understand as well that it doesn't help that the game went the way it did, because obviously a lot of people are frustrated. People have spent a lot of money, time off work, travelled down, and to have that performance served up to you, it causes problems. I understand that. But so I'm going to finish now. Just a quick one. I wanted to come on and talk about the game, I suppose, get it off my chest a little bit. Very odd day, very poor performance. Will it take away what's happened up to now? Not for me, it won't. I wanted to win the FA Cup as much as anybody wanted to win the FA Cup, and I still want to win it. Has it been a bad season? No. We've got to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, semi-finals of the FA Cup, and we're going to qualify for Europe. I think if you'd have said that at the start of the season, a lot of fans would have took it. I genuinely think they do. But the day after a performance like that and going out the FA Cup, obviously, nobody wants to hear that. So that's why I think it's important everybody goes away, has a few days away, relaxes, does other things, and we'll all come back to Villa Park next week against Fulham, and we need to make it bouncing and give the lads the send-off of their lives for the last 4 games, and hopefully, you never know, we might get Champions League. So, yes, thanks once again for everybody's support. It's magnificent. I met so many people at Wembley yesterday that came up and shook my hand and said, you know, they like the stuff that goes out with this and with the Up the Villa stuff with Luke and Ryan and Hannah. I know you're all hurting. I am. But we've got to stick together, and together we are stronger, and hopefully we can have a real strong end to the season, the last 4 games, and hopefully achieve Champions League again. So, yeah, drop me a comment. What was your experiences of the game yesterday? How did you find it? Like this video. Up the Villa. Please don't lose faith. You know, we're on a journey here, and it hasn't ended just because we're at the FA Cup. So, yes, have a great rest of the day. Enjoy your week, and I'll see you all at Villa Park next Saturday. Up the Villa.